We're back with another Grey Seer, top of the best land battle tournament. And we're in the quarterfinals. You see up there, Berserk versus Strat game already happened. Now, this is going to get a little funky. We're going to skip over Codex and Ash because I believe either I don't have that replay or it was played on the current patch hotfix. But I have some replays that are on the previous patch. So we're going to get to those. So we'll jump down to Butcherbird, John FB, and then Flower and Blood Penguin. Right. Can't guarantee we're going to do both those best of threes in this video. We'll see. I need to look. Because one of their series, just looking at the builds, I'm like, that's going to be a longer series. So I want to do the longer one here. Because then I have two shorter ones I want to do back to back. Yeah, okay. So we're going to do Flower versus Blood Penguin first, because it looks like some of these games... And to look behind the curtain, it's like some of the games in the shorter series, I'm like, it's Beastmen versus Norska. This shit's ending very quickly. And this one has some matchups that can take a hot minute. So I haven't watched any of these games. I'm just going to load them up. All right, we're loading into Flower versus Blood Penguin. And as you can see, I see Durthu and Wood Elf Skirmish versus Bretonia Healing. So when I said this, I mean, for all we know, these are going to be stomps and very, very short. But this series has the potential to go long. So for video planning, I'm like, might put that one in its own video. And the other two best of threes have some pretty quick looking matchups. All right, Blood Penguin. And yes, I know the game is going. I'm just doing the scorecard really quick. Then we'll get into it. All right. Scorecard's up, right? ETH. Scorecard is up, and we have some early actions. The Wood Elves brought 4 Skirmish Cavalry. It looks like Hagbane tipped Glade Riders. For the most part, one of them's regular. And then Durthu with Flock of Doom and Sword of Daith. Then we have a Way Stalker, just for consistent poke as well. Bunch of Eternal Guard, Glade Guard with Hagbane tips, Zotes, and the Wild Hunters of Kurnos. So a pretty tight Wood Elf build, but it seems cohesive. Zotes and the Wild Hunters of Kurnos are anti-large armor piercing to deal with some Bretonian knights. Durthu and his line of spears are good at clearing out infantry or knights that get too close. And then we only have a couple archers, but they do provide a bit of poke here and there. On the other side, for Blood Penguin, we have King Lewin. Lewin very good against the Wood Elves with a lot of missile resist with his Lion's Shield, so he's pretty hard to snipe out, and his self-regeneration. Front line of peasant mobs backed up by spearmen and arms, and then we have some peasant bowmen, pox arrows, and fire arrows to reduce healing and poison. So a little bit of supportiveness. With only 2 archers, you're not really taking them to like kill a treekin blob. They're just here to provide some support. For the damage, we do have Grail Knights, Knights of the Realm, and Knights Errant, including the Knights of the Lion-Hearted ROR, backed up by a Damsel of Life with just Earthblood. Cool. Waystalker is providing consistent poke at the Damsel of Life. Blood Penguin does try and put her behind this little terrain piece rock, but you can see she's not perfectly lined up, and it's a very small rock, so if she's not perfectly lined up, the Waystalker will still get consistent damage down. But what does help is Spearmen at Arms getting in the Waystalker's way. He's not tall enough to just shoot over them and ignore them, so he does have to get outside of those troops to be able to get any damage out. Wow, Zotes coming all the way to the front line already, getting a little impact damage on these peasants, and then they run away as the Grail Knights countercharge. Yeah, the Zotes don't really want to get free charged by the Grail Knights, not what they're about. There are a lot of Bretonian Knights for these Wood Elves to peel, and I know Durthu's not looking to peel them. He wants them to blob up on his tightly formed infantry, where he can get a good Sword of Daith, Flock of Doom combo on a blob of them, but I mean, it's still a loose enough formation that Blood Penguin doesn't really have to do that. Here we go. It was the first Sword of Daith. It's on a Knight of the Realm and a Knight of Lionheart, so that's actually a really good Sword of Daith, and the Bretonians are being punished quite heavily. Flesh to Stone does give his 60% magic resist, physical resistance, which is nice versus regular Knights of the Realm, but the Knights of the Lionheart actually do magic damage, so they did do quite a lot already. Lewin dives in with some Grail Knights rear charge, and this might be the end of the Wild Hunters of Kurnos. Still have that physical resistance for 2 more seconds, but the Grail Knights and Lewin care not about that. They will get right through. Disaster for Bretonians overall, though. That first Sword of Daith was amazing and did a ton of damage, and now the Zotes and Durthu are also just doing really good work in the Knights realm. So the Bretonnia Knights are getting quickly attritioned out, which is super bad for Bretonnia. Bretonnia does have healing where the Wood Elves didn't opt to bring it. You saw a little bit of life magic from the Zotes, but they only have 1 bound Earthblood left. So if this game goes super long, you could see the Earthbloods of the Damsel coming into play, and then Grail Knights just getting heal capped, Lewin heal capping himself. Archers providing distance support could be quite nice, as the archers we can see are trying to get back into range and keep firing at the Eternal Guard. So if the game goes along, Bretonnia could be favored. The Zotes are routing. The Wild Hunters of Kurnos are also routing. Glade Rider still being run around the map. They're running low on ammunition as Knights of the Realm just take it on their shields. Only bronze shields, but still 100 armor. Keep them relatively safe. Grail Knights just don't want to be taking that damage. Still 40 out of 48 models. I think they're waiting for the Zotes to break away from the Spearmen so they can just run those guys down. The Grail Knights do need to be getting closer in range to the Earthbloods, though. That is one thing I'll say, is they really need to get some Earthblood healing. The charge into the archers who are trying to find a safe place as peasants completely mob up on the front line. There was very few places the Glade Guard could actually find to stop and shoot. Grail Knights still taking consistent poke and still no Earthbloods for them. I wonder where the Earthbloods are getting cast, if anywhere at all. Zotes did break away, as we mentioned, but they're getting run down by various Knights of the Realm. Other Knights of the Realm are coming back. Still the Wood Elf skirmish cav continuing to fire away. The Zotes are going to be allowed to rally in the distance, but with 5 models and 700 HP, I think they'll get killed in a charge of the Knights. But, I mean, it would be good to just run them down. It looks like Blood Penguin has other things he needs his Knights to be doing, like catching these Glade Guard with Hagbane tips out. Lewin's charging around, just trying to provide any terror, anything he can really do as the Grail Knights come back. Looks like the Grail Knights are trying to get in range of the Earthblood caster as a big flock of doom goes down onto the Knights of the Realm that just rejoined the fight. No Sword of Daith for them yet. I think the Sword of Daith is being reserved for the next time the Grail Knights commit to any fight. Just wants to get good poke on those more elite units. Grail Knights charge back to the Glade Riders, who are consistently being annoying. Really good damage on them. Considering how flighty that skirmish cav is, any damage is really good damage. Bretonnia is trying to be tenacious. These Glade Riders, 2 ammunition left, fighting Knights of the Realm. Knights of the Realm do turn and charge them, and the charge will be good for the charge bonus, of course, but also to keep their leadership high. When you're that low on HP, fighting even a little skirmish cavalry, I mean, when it's full health, you'll probably still have a bad time, so that charge bonus is key, keeping them in the fight. Lewin's going to try and knock out the Zotes on their way in. Flesh to Stone is there, but they also immediately get terrified. It's not a real route, though. They actually will come back in just a second. Lewin continues to pile through the Eternal Guard as Durthu walks over. Durthu might get a poke in here and or there, but as long as Lewin doesn't stay and fight, he should be fine. Knights of the Realm charge in. They do get hit with the Sword of the Daith and Flock of Doom. Good combo, but not onto the Grail Knights. I think that's the last cast of Sword. Yeah, it is. Okay, don't love that. And now these full health Grail Knights, sorry, not full health at all. Half health Grail Knights are going to fight the full health Glade Riders. That's what I meant to say. And they will mulch those guys, especially with Lewin coming over. It's going to be a 3v1 against the Grail Knights by all these little Glade Riders. Man, we are tripping over our words today. Meanwhile, the Damsel of Life, very, very low, close to routing as the Waystalker continues to try and poke away at her. Got a close first game. Again, the Glade Guard are pushed away. Glade Riders trying to team up on the Grail Knights, who still haven't gotten as much healing as I would like. And the Damsel herself isn't healing very much. Her heal cap is far away, so she's not using Earthbloods on herself. I love Blood Penguin. We play League of Legends together. He's a good guy, but I got to be critical of this. So far, I have been very underwhelmed with the caster's presence here. There we go. We got an Earthblood. Grail Knights are attritioning out pretty bad, though. They're going to start to lose models, and these aren't vampire counts, man. You can't just resurrect those models whenever you feel like it. Zotes are back in. Gonna route again, though since last time it was just a terror route, they shouldn't shatter. And another Flock of Doom overcast onto the Grail Knights, really trying to punish those guys. Lewin's heal cap has appeared, and it's very close to where he is right now, so he is really running out of gusto. Peasants still fighting the Eternal Guard, and the Damsel of Life is routing away from the Waystalker. Grail Knights have got to block him. I think they've got to get a good charge in. Yeah, I like his charge angle too. He just wants to get between the Waystalker and his Damsel so she can rally. And he's going to put the Knights like literally on top of the Waystalker. Maybe get some damage out, but also just, like we said with the Peasants earlier, the Waystalker in melee can't shoot. Grail Knights peel away, trying to rely on the peasants to do the rest of the damage. Only 3 ammunition left on the Way Stalker. And the Damsel of Life comes back, uses an Earthblood on the Grail Knights, but not herself. That means she is going to rout again. Man, Blood Penguin hates this Damsel. I don't know what she did to him, but it was apparently fucked up. Durthu's still full HP, which I don't know if the Bretonnians can deal with at this point, to be honest. Grail Knights are very damaged. 27 models out of 48 is still pretty good if they can get a whole bunch of Earthbloods later on. We'll see. If that Damsel rallies, she has to immediately Earthblood herself. Otherwise, she's just going to shatter. But the Wood Elves still have a lot of spears the Bretonnians don't really have a way to deal with. They have Durthu that the Bretonnians can't really deal with, and still some skirmish calves. So it's looking pretty cursed for the Bretonnians at this point. I honestly don't think they have the stopping power to take this game. Durthu and spears in the hyper late game is a problem. I love seeing Lewin walk through these elves. He's just kicking them all around. Oof. It is going to be a painful follow-up, though. It was funny to kick them all around, but now you are just sitting in 2 armor-piercing units of spears. Wow, okay, never mind. He paths out of them like nobody's business. Elven Mass is not a thing. Grail Knights are kicked off the battlefield. 11 out of 48. Incredibly wounded, and they're getting chased by Glade Riders. They're not coming back. This is the end game. Lewin just wants to fight Durthu a little bit for honor, but really there is nothing to be gained here. There's no hope. No hope. Lewin is dead. Army losses will hit. GG. Wood Elves Bretonnia does feel like a difficult matchup with Durthu being strong. Bretonnians do not like fighting large single entities. Especially not large single entities that have their own wave clear. Spears did fine. Wild Hunters of Kronos did okay. Skirmish Cap did great. Zotes struggled a bit. For Mr. Penguin, Grail Knights did well. Lewin did fine. Knights of the Realm did okay. Peasants did fine. I mean, they did their jobs. Archers didn't really get to fire too much. And that's that. We'll give Flower their point and take you back to the bracket to avoid spoilers. So then game 2, we have Tzeentch versus Empire. Again, now seeing the factions, you might understand why I thought this series might be a longer one. Good deal of kiting that can happen. Good deal of kiting that can happen. Blood Penguin on his Empire, but he does not have a lot of long range, so he might be at the mercy of Tzeentch's blue fires this game. Oh, never mind. Without a flying caster, really, blue fire is not a good spell, so it looks like we have Plague of Rust, Gehenna's Golden Hounds, and Searing Doom caster for Chaos Sorcerer of Tzeentch. We have a Changeling pick to turn into the Green Knight. Oh, yeah. Okay, Gelt does have Final Transmutation, so the Green Knight might be in trouble, but in general, if the Empire doesn't prepare for the Changeling Green Knight, that's a real thing. It's not a meme. Green Knight got his buffs, and if you don't prepare for him, he's a small single entity with crazy physical resistance, 100% armor piercing, and he can heal himself in the forest. So, yeah, it is really smart to take Gelt versus Tzeentch because you need Final Transmutation just in case the Changeling comes along. Because if you're prepared for him, then it is still paying too much money for the Green Knight. Like, the Changeling is too expensive if you prepare for him, right? What you're paying, the idea behind the Changeling is you're paying for the guesswork. Where it's like, oh man, if they're not ready for this, if they're not ready for Kugath, if they're not ready for Scarbrand, if they're not ready for the Green Knight, I'm going to get so much value, which is true. But then if they are, it might be a hard time. So if Blood Penguin uses his Winds of Magic well, this should be a very attainable game. We have 2 Exalted Pink Horrors of Tzeentch, the Changeling, of course, Chaos Sorcerer we mentioned, and then a bunch of Screamers of Tzeentch, one of which is the Shrieking Skyrays, Blue Horrors backing up the Exalted Pinks, and then 3 Forsaken. A very infantry-heavy Tzeentch build from Flower. Usually I see him with like 4 Skirmish Cav in any matchup that has Skirmish Cav, as we saw with the Wood Elves, so a little surprising to see him go so infantry-heavy. For the front line of the Empire, it's Spearmen and Swordsmen, El Clasico, Empire Knights to do some blocking, Nuln Ironsides, and the Silver Bullets for some extra shooting, and then Empire Knights, Empire Knights, Empire Knights. Gelt's up in the sky. As we can see, immediate final transmutation overcast, and the Changeling switches back into himself. I don't know if that actually saves him any damage, because it's not like the Green Knight is weak to spells. He just doesn't have spell resistance, but neither does the Changeling, so I don't get it. I think their HP pools are also the same. Still a really good final trans, though. That's a third of the Changeling's HP. Now, Gelt's not a combat lord of any kind, so he can't dive down and punish the Changeling while turning into the Green Knight is on cooldown. And actually, this is looking pretty rough for the Empire. Screamers and the Exalted Pink Horrors getting a really good engagement on the flanks, already shutting down several state troops who are thinking about fleeing, and the Empire Knights have taken a disgusting amount of damage this early into the game. In the background, we have more Empire Knights guarding other Null Ironsides that are just trying to get involved, and the terrain seems to be favoring Tzeentch. A lot of trees, which the Blue Horrors with their up and down arc of fire are getting a little more shots in than the straight fire of the Empire. Seems like a lot more of the Empire shots are hitting trees. It's a bit of a rough start here for the Empire. A lot of damage going down. Bounce power is about 50-50 though, because the Changeling is very expensive, so taking a third of his HP out is brutal. He's not currently the Green Knight, so he's not healing while sitting in these woods. Now he turns back into the Green Knight, so he gets that healing again. And yeah, Tzeentch using a lot of ammunition, losing some Forsaken, which are both hurting their balance of power. But I don't know, I feel like the Empire's in pretty bad straits. Like, I think the balance of power is a little silly for being truly 50-50. Like, look at all these routing troops. Gelt does dive down into the Exalted Pink Horrors. He's just trying to annoy them, I guess, but he better be careful. They have solid melee attack and decent weapon strength, considering he's, 50 armor and 38 melee defense. Changeling Knight standing in the trees, trying to get that healing, though he's not technically in the forest right now, according to the game. So he's not getting that healing just yet. Tier 3 army ability of Tzeentch comes out onto the Empire. And this is looking brutal. Balance of power is like slightly Tzeentch favored, but I'm just trying to figure out where the Empire is having a good go. Gelt's showing up. Looks like he's going after the Green Knight again. Probably has another overcast of final transmutation for him. Empire Knights retreating away from Screamers and Forsaken. Screamers and Forsaken getting a little low, though. The Screamers could disintegrate at any time, which is really bad. Forsaken running out of leadership here, which is tough. And that's going to be a juicy Golden Hounds. Oh, all around the Green Knight. The men of the Empire die. Brutal. Anyway, if Tzeentch's stuff routes, though, their lack of mobility is going to be a real problem, because the Empire, even their super wounded knights, can still run down the Forsaken to the edge of the map. Another overcasted final transmutation is out. Changeling once again turns. Oh, he's turning into the Changeling to get the barriers, because the Green Knight doesn't have barrier. So he's trying to mitigate some of that damage. That's what he's going for. Pretty high level play, smart stuff. I still don't think it's going to help you that much. I mean, the Changeling's teeny tiny health pool is doing more damage to him than that. Kind of want to see Gelt dive him, even though Gelt's a piss poor combatant. If he gets a charge bonus, he could get a couple hits on the Changeling, who is running for the forest. Balance power shifted into the Empire's favor, and I really want to see why. We do have a backline that is rallying up. See some bullets going out as Empire Knights are going to charge into Exalted Pink Horrors. Blue Horrors with no ammunition are still chasing those guys. We're losing some Screamers here and there. Another Searing Doom is out, but the Reichsguard... Oh, there are some Reichsguard mixed in here. Reichsguard, gonna get away from that, so half health Reichsguard is charging towards a bunch of horrors of various colors that it can actually do decent damage into. Yeah, I think the balance of power is mostly looking bad just because of the Changeling. So if the Changeling transforms back into the Green Knight and gets some solid healing out, then I think this game is still very winnable for Tzeentch. The Empire guns are free and clear to fire for now, with all the Screamers having been dealt with. And the Changeling, like, turning into the Changeling to dodge some final transmutation damage has been alright, but then it takes a long time for that cooldown to come back up before he can get into the woods and start healing again. So he hasn't gotten nearly as much healing as I think he would like this game. Flower's hoping for this to go long at this point. He needs the Changeling to just heal up and be a nuisance. Horrors are retreating away from the Empire guns, which are slowly walking them down, but the leadership on the Pink Horrors cannot last forever, as the Blue Horrors next to them were starting to crumble away a little bit. Either of these, the Reichsguard, because if the Reichsguard got murdered, then that's bad. No, Reichsguard are still doing okay. Gelt being very cautious with his Winds of Magic, though he's not being cautious with his body as he dives straight onto the Exalted Pink Horrors right in front of the Green Knight. Changeling was not quick enough to get onto Gelt, though. Does get locked up in Reichsguard, and now he is outside the forest, so again, he's not regenerating, but I think we have a final transmutation coming off cooldown soon. Gelt has some pretty insane Winds of Magic generation with the staff, Volan's staff. Dolores Blade is procced from the Green Knight, getting good damage on the Reiksguard. But if Gelt throws a Final Trance on him soon, he's going to have to turn into the Changeling to try and mitigate some of it with the barrier, and then his cooldown's going to be too long to get back into the Green Knight, so I honestly think if the next Final Trance might just kill him, because he won't have time to regenerate or anything. State troops pushing back up. Like we've mentioned, those bullets are slowly coming back after getting back online. Looks like a sneaky Searing Doom is not going to be noticed by the Empire player in time, so the Null Ironsides do take a bit of damage. He dodges, but a little too late. Other blue horrors are demonic instability crumbling away as Reiksguard now charge into Wounded, Forsaken, and other blue horrors of Tzeentch. They know they can't get away from the Green Knights now. They're just trying to get damage out while he is attacking them, but they're trying not to just overcommit to fighting him. I mean, he has pretty insane melee defense and physical resistance. 50 melee defense, perfect vigor, so that's never going down, and then 15% damage resistance, 55% physical resistance, so he's a tanky boy. But here comes that Final Trance we mentioned. Final Trance overcast. Does he even bother turning into Changeling? Because his barriers are so reduced, I honestly don't even know if it's worth it. There's not much he can do. Thankfully, being the Green Knight makes him unbreakable, so he cannot demonic instability crumble, but oh, I was so close to my prediction. He got to 69 HP. Didn't technically die in the final transmutation. Now he's trying to forest regen fast enough, but it's not fast enough. Changeling dies, and with that, Tzeentch's leadership is going to fall apart. Their demonic units will die much faster, and that'll be a big problem. Exalted Pink Horrors are very close to demonic instability crumbling. All the other blue horrors were taken out, and Gelt is trying to deal with the last Exalted Pink Horror, soon leaving us with just a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Tzeentch, who is a metal caster, has Searing Doom to clear out infantry in the late game, and he's low to the ground. Ooh, he is on a horse. Okay, he's still relatively low to the ground, so the guns may not be able to get the easiest shots on him, but they will still be able to shoot him here and there. A bolt of changes out on the Null Ironsides. Chaos Sorcerer of Tzeentch hero can definitely beat Gelt in 1v1 melee combat, so the Empire does need to have plenty of support for Gelt in the late game. After 3 overcasted final transmutations, I think he's out of Wind of Magic pretty much. At most, he has 1 undercast left, but army losses seems to be powerful enough to help him out. 1 volley from the Silver Bullet should send us into army losses territory, so let's see it. Volley. Oh, not enough. It needed a Null Ironside helping out. There's army losses. GG. Blood Penguin brings the series back to 1-1. Tzeentch's schemes cannot prevail against Balthazar Gelt. Too clever. Too smart. Exalted Pink Horrors did pretty well. Forsaken did okay. Blue Horrors did okay. And Screamers struggled, but they were needed to chase down things and harass knights. For the Empire, state troops, mixed value, but overall fine. Guns, mixed value, but overall fine. A lot of them paying for themselves. Reiksguard did pretty well. Empire Knights did not pay for themselves, but similar to the Screamers, their function was just to block, so they did fine. They did fine. Let's go 1-1. We're going to game 3. Two back and forth, very close games between these combatants, and also decent amount of kiting. So on to game 3. Now, Human Boy, you're stupid. Now, Human Boy, you may have given away that it was a 3-game series because you said it's probably a long enough one for its own standalone video. And then I present to you High Elf potential Hero Hammer with Teclis, who I believe has regrowth. I'm just saying there's a potential for this one to also go long. So when I saw those games, I'm like, there's 2 games with potentially a lot of kite, because I didn't know what the Changeling was going to turn into. So I was like, all right, is this going to be Blue Fire Kite against the Empire as they slowly walk after you? And then game 3, is it going to be Teclis regrowthing Caradrian and super late game, slow grind? So I didn't know. And we still don't know, because that Tzeentch game ended up not being Blue Fire Kite, but yeah. When I saw it, I was like, Wood Elves, Tzeentch, and then High Elves. This could be a long one. So we have 2 Shadow Walkers. These are the more elite Alethanar special Shadow Walkers, not the Shadow Warriors, which are more generic. So 2 of those. We have Teclis, who's already hurt himself with some Overcast. Overcasted Flock of Doom did hurt him a little bit. So he has Flock of Doom, Regrowth, and his Net. Front line of White Lions of Krace. Double Dragon Princes, one of which is the Fireborn. We have 1 regular Archer, and then Caradrian, not on his Frost Phoenix, on horseback. And he did bring his infantry heal, And the Mark of a Surian Super Mortis engine, but only when he's crazy low. This is kind of a wild high elf build. I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, I think it's cool. I don't know if it's actually that good. We'll see. On the other side for Kislev, Winged Lancers and Griffin Legion on the flanks, Armored Kossars and Kislevite Warrior front line. We do have an Ice Witch of Tempest with just Hawks of Miska. Not Blizzard, which we so often see. Then we have the Wolf Hearts for a net, Oath Brothers of Tor, Warbear Rider, ROR, something we haven't seen a lot. In the early days of Warhammer 3, before even like Immortal Empires came out and stuff, these guys were taken all the time. They were super OP and busted and whatnot. But then I just feel like the game's kind of left them behind a little bit. Ooh, and another blast from the past. We also have a Patriarch with just his heal. This is an old school Kislev build versus a very strange and new high elf build. Okay. What will win, the old orthodoxy or the new ways of the waves in the Tides of Torment DLC? Out now for $75. You don't know. You don't remember what it is. Don't pretend you do. Armored Kossars walk up. They're going to try and get some free pistol shots in the White Lions of Christ to delay the engagement. And they are pivoting. Looks like they're accidentally dodging some of that fire convocation. There we go. Now they're trying to actually dodge it, and they dodge a lot of it. It's very hard for fire convocation to hit multiplayer. Most high-level players are capable of dodging the spell. It has a very long wind-up time. And it's super obvious, too. It's not even subtle like Seafang. I mean, Seafang's bullshit. It's impossible to dodge, but Seafang is very subtle. Whereas the fiery convocation is like, look at me, dodge me. Griffin Legion took a brief charge on the White Lions of Christ, really didn't get that much damage out, and are getting punished for their transgressions as, Caradrian and Dragon Princes charging forward, harassing the Griffin Legion on the way. The Oath Brothers of Tor now countercharge the countercharge, and they soon will also have to pull back. There they go. So just a bunch of accordion charges over there. In and out, in and out. Pistol Kossar still firing for free at the White Lions, trying to get some damage out, though pistols are pretty bad at hitting infantry. Damage is still damage. We have a real big cav fight. Flock of Doom overcast on the Winged Lancers, but in comes a Hawks of Mishka, trying to clear out some of these infantry and also lower their leadership enough to get them to rout away. Oath Brothers of Tor, lightning is down, and damn, the Fireborn did just get here as the blind came down, so they do take minus 24 melee attack and melee defense. Overall, the High Elves still doing well in this engagement. They lost their White Lions of Christ. They've lost half of a Dragon Prince, but they've done so much damage to a Winged Lancer, a Griffin Legion. They're even doing okay against the Oath Brothers of Tor. We do get an overcasted regrowth down on the Dragon Princes. And there is no Things in the Woods Regiment of Renown with their heal reduction, but a sneaky play. The Griffin Legion might finally get something done. The healthy Griffin Legion charging straight onto the archers, and actually the remnants of a different Griffin Legion with Fire Blood active get on the other side. Beautiful sandwich in from those heavy cavalry, and all the High Elf archers are trampled beneath Kislevite hooves just before the first Griffin Legion does depart. Snow Leopard Summon is out as the Oath Brothers of Tor are in a stand and fight with the Fireborn. And they're probably pretty happy about that, honestly. Fireborn might win it, but it's much worse for the Bears if they keep getting cycle charged, so just having the Fireborn stay here is probably pretty good. Patriarch can offer occasional healing. He's already used one of his charges, and the Snow Leopard is also offering some extra stuff. So really, Kislev doing the best they can over there. Archers and Shadow Walkers taking a lot of damage, almost routing, as another Shadow Walker did slip away to safety, but is running low on ammunition. Here is what the Kislevites don't want. The Fireborns slip away. See, the Oath Brothers of Tor, they are very, very damaged, don't get me wrong, but they did just want to fight the Fireborn, because if the Fireborn, like, run away like this, they can get techless healing, they can cycle charge, they can do all that stuff, so... Yeah, Flower realizing what was going on is pretty bad for the Kislevites. They're about to lose the Oath Brothers. Snow Leopard's just waiting out its summons in here. Fireblood is procced for the Oath Brothers of Tor. In comes a final heal for them, and a blind. Just some last bits of damage on the Fireborn, but those Oath Brothers are dead. I think I saw 2 models left. Yeah, 2 models, they're gonna die. And then the Patriarch's actually gonna be lost too. It's a pretty bad loss for Kislev. What's going great for Kislev is everything that's not that specific engagement. The front line's going pretty well for them overall. We see White Lions routing in every direction. The archers have suffered a lot of damage and have used most of their ammunition. Tackless is also taking a lot of damage in his fight with the Ice Witch. So besides the Oath Brothers dying, match is going pretty well for Kislev. Now, High Elves have regrowth, so they can stall this out and get a ton of healing for themselves. Dragon Princes charge back into the Winged Lancers. Wing Lancers and Griffin Legion both really low, so I think these Dragon Princes just want to try and knock them out of the fight once and for all. Patriarch does have one heal left. I wonder if he'll bother using it on these already super tattered units, or if he has another unit in mind. It looks like these are probably his best options. Caradrian starts to kick his ass. Oof. Patriarch's trying to walk away. Caradrian's not really having it. He's getting big damage down. Patriarch only has one use of Silic's Lullaby left. If he can get that heal off, and honestly, he's a useless character at that point, so then he can die. But by the time Inspired Blood wears off, he needs to use his last heal. He's really low in HP, and their leadership is actually shockingly bad, so he is going to shatter as soon as this is over. Heal's probably on cooldown. In comes a Hawks of Mishka to try and punish the Fireborn. The other Dragon Princes were already pushed away. Patriarch's Fireblood is worn out. There's the negative 55, and he's probably going to shatter. Negative 45. Oh, he might be okay. Fireborn and Dragon Princes took a lot of damage each. They're down to 17 and 12 models respectively. Meanwhile, the Wolf Hearts are flanked by White Lions, though those guys are busy with Armored Cossars, and they do have Teclis fighting them. Their hybrid melee stats and Teclis's really piss poor stats. Honestly, if those Wolf Hearts surrounded Teclis, they could get some decent damage out, especially if they netted him. Captain of the Phoenix Guard healing up the White Lions of Krace. Dragon Princes retreat after reforming lines. High Elves ahead on the balance of power, I would agree. Caradrian is very powerful right now. Full HP. Teclis, of course, can heal. The game doesn't know that, but I know that, so I agree with the balance of power. Shadow Walkers coming back in, super wounded. Other Shadow Walkers fighting for their lives against Armored Cossars. And the Ice Witch did try and fight Caradrian for just a brief moment. I think she's mostly trying to just keep him in the middle of all these Kizilvite warriors where he can take some real damage. She herself really isn't that big of a problem. Silic's Lullaby, the final cast is out as the Patriarch rallied for just a second before routing yet again. The Fireborn run into the Wolf Hearts. But there's really not that much melee that Kislev has left. So the Fireborn and Caradrian are big problems, and their Hawks and Mishka is out just to try and load the leadership of these super tattered high elf units, get them to maybe route away. As the Fireborn, it is looking possible that they will route. The leadership holds for now. Teclis is once again in the thick of it, having a bad time against the Wolf Hearts and Armored Cossars. He's now trying to path out, realizing this maybe wasn't the best use of his stats. White Lions will peel for him. Caradrian's still in here being a badass, and the rear charging Dragon Princes also getting damage out. Kislev's not doomed on the balance of power, but it's feeling a little doomed in reality. I just don't see what kills Caradrian at this point, as the Patriarch's getting hunted down by Teclis. Another flock of doom damages all of the Kizilvite warriors. Armored Cossars, Wolf Hearts, and Kizilvite warriors fighting side by side. Shadow Walkers have rejoined the fight on the side of the High Elves to help Caradrian a little bit. Knives out, boys. Stab those Kislevites. Just shanking them in the sides. Teclis is pretty low, but I don't see what's going to finish him off. Patriarch shatters away. A lot of the Kizilvite troops are all running now. And now it's the Ice Witch that finds herself stranded as Caradrian is nearby. She's surrounded by Shadow Walkers. She's all alone. Another Hawks of Mishka. Gonna do really good damage to the Shadow Walkers, honestly. Should do fine there, but I don't know how she gets away from Caradrian. He's on a horse, he's faster. Fireborn helping to chase down some stuff. Shadow Walker's trying to get away from the Hawks. That's just going to be GG. Kislev throws in the towel. So Flower will advance. Teclis and Caradrian both did well. White Lions did fine. Shadow Walkers did well. Fireborn did well. Other Dragon Princes do. Tempest Caster did a pretty good job. Patriarch, hard to get him really be worth his value. He's so expensive, even on a horse with just the heal, he's pretty expensive. Both Prizator also struggled quite a bit. Wolf Hearts, Armored Cossars did fine. Kizilvite Warriors did fine. Griffin Legion really struggled to get their value back as well. So did the Wing Lancers. GG. Oh yeah, I have to reveal this, don't I? I mean, we all know, but boop. 2-1. 2-1. Subscribe, yes, yes.